Anyways, the left wants to turn men into femboys. Oh boy, this video. Oh, and it's only 720p.
The left wants to turn all men into femboys. Oh yeah, they do. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on the internet we've got to talk about femboys.
Why is he talking like that?
It is that time of year, right?
Reminds me of
So many of you probably heard the story of a 16-year-old boy who was given estrogen for a behavioral disorder while at the LA County Juvenile Hall. There's been a lawsuit, and the boy developed breasts. He had to get surgery.
I'm gonna agree with him on this. This is fucked up. Don't give estrogen to people who aren't in need of it just because you want to make them less aggressive or something. Don't do that, especially without their consent in jail. Like that's just wrong.
Surgery to remove the breasts, and now he's mentally scarred and traumatized.
If this is true, I don't even know how credible this source is.
He's scared of the world. They gave a young boy, pumped him full of female hormones, destroyed his body, destroyed his mind, and completely and utterly wrecked him. And nobody knows why, but I think I do. Now, like all real men, I love femboy hooters. Oof. Especially that one right there. Now, some people would call these traps, but as a straight man, when I see a trap, I turn 360 degrees and walk away. There's nothing gay about that. But for real, folks, whether you prefer femboy hooters or tomboy outback or even iGoth IHOP, what's really important here is that everyone has a choice. You can choose to go to femboy hooters or you can go to tomboy outback. And the femboys can choose to be a femboy or just be a regular man. Everyone consents.
I agree.
And that's
Consent's
what it's all about.
nice.
But what they did to this 16-year-old boy was not consent. They forced him to take these treatments. They threatened him. They said, if you don't do what we say, we're going to send you to prison. Here you can see on the Los Angeles Times, a 16-year-old boy being held at Los Angeles County Juvenile Hall developed enlarged breasts after he was prescribed estrogen to treat a behavioral disorder, a move that baffled doctors, who said the treatment defied all medical logic, according to a lawsuit filed last month. So he was diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, ODD, and arrested. So the Times revealed that his
I want to move 5 seconds. I don't really. I want to get to where he gets to the juicy part.
Believe in the concept known as toxic masculinity, and if I had to guess, they were trying to cure him of this toxic masculinity.
Okay, so toxic masculinity refers to two things. One, it's when men exert their privileges over women, but I really don't like using it for that. The second thing that toxic masculinity is it's unfortunate standards that men are held to. Basically, they can't be a certain amount of like feminine, because if they're feminine, that's bad. They're not real men. They can't cry. They can't express themselves. They have to be cold and hard and rough and all that stupid stuff. That's what I like to use the term toxic masculinity for. Using it to describe dumb stuff like manspreading is kind of bad. It gives these people, this is what these people think of it as. It's just stupid SJW stuff. Use of the term toxic masculinity.
By pumping him full of female hormones, which, mind you, can leave a man infertile, destroy his body, and destroy everything he is. Here you can see on tolerance.org. Oh, that's hilarious.
All men are their bodies and their ability to be fertile. That is everything they are. I don't know, maybe, is that what he's saying? That sounds like what he's saying. Okay.
Since they aren't very tolerant. What do we mean when we say toxic masculinity? Now, this is a person who made headlines when they talked about toxic masculinity. Lots of people criticized them, made fun of them, and laughed at them. So they made this article, and they said, well, let me explain what I think toxic masculinity is. Before we engage students in conversations about masculinity or femininity, toxic or otherwise. We should begin with a few ideas about gender. Researchers have shown that there is very little difference between the brains of men and women. Wrong! Research has actually shown that there's an incredible difference between the male and female brain. The connectome, a way of mapping connectivity in the brain, revealing significant differences between men and women. Now let's just take a look here. The brain on the left is a male brain. The brain on the right is a female brain.
Okay, don't care. I want more of the juicy memes.
The way they connect, the way between men and women. Now, did I miss the memo or something? Hideyoshi's the only other gender I know. People of different genders often act differently, not because of biological...
Okay, yeah, so I think he just made fun of non-binary people existing there. This guy definitely doesn't believe non-binary people are a thing. They are. They exist. What I'd say is gender's a social construct, meaning we can define it however we want. Yeah, I'm really tired.
Characteristics, but because of rigid societal norms created around femininity and masculinity. And there it is. The insane.
I mean that's what it is. It's about isn't it about like the in between of femininity and masculinity? I don't know. This is really dumb.
Ideology that is behind all of this, behind the feminization of the Western male. And
this is the
folks,
memes. This is what I wanted to talk about.
The idea that there's no differences between men and women is wrong. It's not true. We know for a fact that testosterone and estrogen have very different effects on the body. Otherwise, men would not grow breasts and become different when given female hormones. Likewise, women would not become more aggressive when given testosterone. So for these feminists, and believe me, they are out there. They're out of school, out of their gender studies classes. You know, I've said for years that affirmative action and letting people who didn't deserve to go to university is going to lead to a generation of crackpots. You've got all these extremists in universities being brainwashed by the regressive left to believe things like there's no differences between men and women, or that masculinity is toxic, or that men are evil and must be...
No, none of these things are true, and I wouldn't advocate for any of these things. What I would advocate for is that people can change their genders and identify as they wish. Men and women are different, and that's kind of why people transition in the first place, because they don't like what they are and they need to be something else and make that their new current identity. And there's nothing wrong with that. Also, men aren't toxic just because they're men. Men have a lot of issues where toxicity is put upon them and they can't express themselves in certain ways. Like a girl can pretty much express herself however she wants. She can wear feminine or masculine clothing without much consequence, whereas a man will get a lot of crap for wearing a dress. Look at Harry Styles. There's a video on that I did. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. It's toxic to say that men can't wear dresses. They can only wear men clothing, where women can wear whatever they want. And that's the toxic aspect. Being masculine, being a man, comes with very toxic expectations.
Cured. All of these crackpots who studied gender studies, many others who became doctors, they're out there now, and they're experimenting on your sons, on our boys.
Okay,
and they're
so this is
forcing
pretty
them to
conspiratorial.
Now the feminist...
So one story of a person wrongfully getting hormone treatment means that the entire left is out there experimenting on boys because the left wants to force feminize men. That's pretty much the thesis of this video. I'm just gonna bring up forced feminization. That's a kink, and I don't know if he actually uses the term forced feminization, but I'm gonna talk about it. That's a kink. It's similar to like a no means yes sort of thing, where it's agreed upon before the interaction or the scene or whatever. It's done for sexual humiliation and whatnot. It has nothing to do, it's not a left-wing agenda, but it is a meme to force feminized men in leftist circles. I will acknowledge that it is a meme, but it's nothing more than that. It's not a serious agenda, in my opinion. I do not think that they are serious about that, and when I joke about it, I'm not serious about it at all.
Feminization of the Western man has been going on for a long time. Here you can see on Psychology Today, feminizing boys as we masculine girls. And this guy talks about something he's noticed, that something is wrong. But here's the funny part. For years, the left and feminists have been pushing the idea that if only men would act more like girls, they would be more successful, have better behavior, and be better, be less toxic.
I don't agree with
That's
this.
a sexist idea, and I just want to make that clear. The
I can
idea
agree
of
with that.
toxic
Yeah, that's pretty
masculinity is
sexist.
sexist. But here's the problem. Making men...
Toxic masculinity is sexist because it means that males can't express themselves to the same degree that females can. That's toxic. I don't like that.
Women less masculine is actually a bad thing. Here you can see. The problem for boys and men whose masculinity is being subject to attack is that many of the studies have shown that both men and women who scored higher on masculinity than femininity scale were more likely to have higher self-esteem. The original thinking by Bem and others was that the most highly successful people would be androgynous, defined as scoring above the median on both masculinity and femininity.
I don't know what
So it
the
was
source
surprising to
is,
many
and I
that this
really
was often
don't
not
care.
the case, but rather, scoring higher on masculinity was frequently
He's basically
the best
saying
predictor
masculinity
of
is just
success.
superior to
In other words,
femininity.
the more masculine you are, generally speaking, the more successful you are. Because
Yep,
guess
pretty
what?
much.
Like everything else
That's
in
what
life,
he's saying.
testosterone has its pros and cons. Testosterone makes you aggressive, confident, strong, willing, driven. You go out there, you succeed, you win, you fight, you protect, you serve. You're a man. You live. You're self-reliant.
This is so
and
cringy.
you be a leader. So yeah, there's negatives to more aggression, but
I know,
can be.
right?
But
Why-
there can
why
be
doesn't he
negatives to
show the
anything.
source?
Estrogen has its negatives, sure. You're more caring. You're more
Like,
understanding.
I'm
You're more
very
able to deal
skeptical
with
of this
stress in
source
life.
because he's
You're
not
also more
showing
emotional.
it.
You're less rational. These things happen. These hormones have powerful effects on the body. Just like testosterone makes men aggressive, estrogen makes women emotional. Now, the real sexism here isn't from men, and it's not from toxic masculinity. The real sexism is from the left. Let me
The
explain.
left.
Saying
Very
that
vague and ambiguous term. Isn't his voice boring? It's really boring. You know, and this guy doesn't even sound that masculine. He's all about, like, masculinity good, but he doesn't sound that masculine. And he watches anime. Anime, I wouldn't describe to be a super masculine hobby to be into. Honestly, I've seen lots of like masculine people make fun of dudes who watch anime and be like, what are you watching this girl shit for? But that's sort of a personal anecdote, but yeah, I know this guy likes anime. He referenced
testosterone is
Hideyoshi.
bad because it makes people aggressive is sexist. Saying that estrogen is bad because it makes women emotional is also sexist. Neither are bad. Both are important, and men need testosterone like women need estrogen. It's what makes them them. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be men, there wouldn't be women, and there wouldn't be human.
No, I don't think that men are defined by their testosterone and women are defined by their estrogen. I think that's extremely reductive and not the case at all. They're defined by how they identify and express themselves. It's not just, oh, man has testosterone. That's it. That's all. He's just a man. I mean, this guy literally said that, like, the kid who got the hormones was he potentially could lose his fertility and his muscles and all that and everything that makes him a man. Like, can we start calling these people leafy? All of them? They're just all leafy. They don't deserve individual recognition. I don't know, maybe.
Humanity. You see, feminism rejects the family unit. They reject the
The
idea
family
that you need
unit.
a man and a woman to reproduce to make a child. As much as I love those traps.
Okay, he's talking about how he loves traps. I don't think he actually loves traps. I think he's just talking about it for the meme. But yeah, the family unit. Here's what I think about the family unit. I would probably describe myself as a feminist. Family, like the nuclear family, it's cool if that's what you want to do, but don't push it on others and say this is the best way to do it and this is how you should do it and have to do it and you're not as good if you don't do it like this. Don't do that. That's really poopy and I don't like that. I'm fine with choice and I don't want to eradicate the nuclear family. What I want to do is I want to celebrate things that are different from that. Yeah, we all know that this guy probably feels bad about himself for jerking it to femboys. Most likely. He probably is very insecure about that.
They don't have a womb, and that is huge.
I like traps, but they don't have a womb. Therefore, they aren't worth me pursuing a relationship into. I mean, if he's serious about that, if he's like all women are to him is just they're baby making machines there to balance the hardened masculinity and confidence of men. They're there to keep them in check. Traps are super hot and great, but they don't have wombs and they can't make me babies. Therefore, I will not indulge in my gayness.
Men need women, women need men, and
yep, this is just
men
what
are
I said.
attracted to girly girls, and girls are generally attracted to manly men. Yeah, not everybody. Everyone has their kinks, but usually.
You're kinky if you're not heterosexual. Okay, dude. Okay.
Western men are under attack.
Western men are under attack.
Take a look at this from Vox, a far left source, so you can't tell me that this is not
Thank you for
a good
showing
source,
the source.
because it is. The average sperm count has dropped, but it is still within normal range. So here you can see that in 1973, sperm concentration million/milliliter, 99. In 2011, it was 47. Since the early 1970s, sperm count in Western countries has declined by more than 50%. Men are being feminized. Now, the reasons for this are many. Some of it is due to fitness, stress, but I think a lot of it has to do with pollution and ideology.
Pollution?
And you know the crazy thing about this trend is that nobody seems
like
to know
air
why.
pollution? I don't
Take a
know
look
what
at
he
this
means.
image. It's testosterone levels in BuzzFeed men. Here you can see Eugene has the highest score at 363. Keith has 259. Zach has 252. And Ned has 212. What do these numbers mean? Well, let me put it this way. An 85-year-old man has testosterone levels on average of 376. Higher than anyone on this list.
Gotta play the clown noise?
In other words, Eugene here, and he's the Asian, has the highest testosterone, but it is still far, 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 far lower. I'm going to assume these guys are in their 30s. The average 35 to 44-year-old male has a testosterone level of 668. Holy shit, they're practically female. And looking at these men, they look like soy boys.
I bet this guy looks something like one of these dudes. I bet this guy looks something like this. I would bet a lot of money that this guy doesn't look like Hugh Jackman or Carl Urban or any of the other big masculine men. Yeah, it's Cope. This guy is super insecure. People like this are really insecure about their masculinity. And so what they do is they hype it up and they complain about people who are different. And they do not like how, you know, if he really is into femboys and traps and all of that, he's probably extremely insecure about that. He probably feels really regretful about the time he busted one out to Astolfo. I am willing to bet that is the case, and that making videos like this is how he copes. It's very sad, and I would argue that it is the result of toxic masculinity. Telling him that he can't be anything but a masculine man, and having lower testosterone is bad, and it makes you not a man, and you're not valid, and now I gotta make fun of this.
They look very feminine. They look weak. They kind of look like women. They're like they're a stone's throw away.
I dream of a world where this guy accepts himself, settles down with a nice femboy, and they adopt a kid together. Wouldn't that be so nice? Wouldn't that world be so nice? I could totally see that happen. A gay femboy family? That sounds so wholesome. That sounds so wholesome, dude.
From going full femboy, okay? From going full femboy hooters. Look at these weak men. I believe that this is all a result of the feminization of the Western male, and I find it absolutely disturbing. It's not just a system now. Now they're pumping hormones into unwilling teenagers and destroying their lives.
Very conspiratorial.
That, my friends, is merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks.
Okay, that's it. We just finished. Thank you especially to Pixie for helping me out in chat, because I was not mentally there for a lot of the segment, but I tried, and I'm still going to upload it. That's The Left Wants to Turn Men into Femboys. I don't think the left wants to turn men into femboys. I think the left wants to celebrate men that are femboys, and that's about it.